Hello and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am LaWanna Bradford, and you know I love all things business and finance. And today I have a very special guest who will be joining us, none other than Tracy Oriyomi, who has been on this platform a couple times over the past few years. And the one thing I love about Tracy is her passion to help educate and empower women to shape their financial lives. She doesn't want individuals to find themselves in a future state where they're struggling because they didn't have the right education, the tools, the resources in order to build and empower themselves. She believes that women are the key to transforming not only our family, but our communities and ultimately the world. Before I bring Tracy on for our special talk on kids and money matters, I'm going to turn it back to our intro and then we'll get started. And the next person you'll see next to me is none other than Tracy Oriyomi.
Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group. With Raw Talk, we are empowering women to rise and succeed in business and finances, and improve the world for the next generation. Get ready to get raw and real. Live each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Hello, Tracy. Welcome.
Hello, LaWanna. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I am so glad that you said yes. I'm following you and I see you're just rocking and rolling all over the place, doing some amazing things with your platform and helping to create education and empowerment for women and for families. And I just want to tell the audience a little bit about you before we dive into our conversation today about kids and money matters. Tracy Oriyomi is a financial consultant with WealthWaves. She has over 19 years of experience in the financial industry. I want to say that again, over 19 years of experience in the financial industry. And the reason why I want to emphasize that is we know over the past 19 years here in the US, we've seen numerous economic cycles, from what happened in 2007, 2008 to the recent pandemic. And we know that all of these events have had adverse effects on everyone, but especially women. And with her work, as I mentioned earlier, she serves to empower, educate, and inspire women to be informed so they can make the best decisions, financial decisions, for themselves and their community. She's an independent broker, influencer, speaker. She's a member of Toastmasters, Women's Prosperity Network. She is part of Women in Financial Services, and she is the Celebrate You 2021 Woman of the Year for Business. And I'm just excited that you are here, Tracy, and let's get right into it.
Thank you so much, LaWanna. Thank you for all that you're doing as well.
Thank you. Well, Tracy, let's just go back in time a little bit. I know that this has finance and the conversation about it, especially with women, has been so important to you. But I believe every person, whether it's our platform, our business, it has a seed from somewhere. So tell us, what was it that caused you to not only get bitten by the financial freedom bug, but you are on a mission to make sure that other people are able to celebrate financial freedom?
Absolutely, LaWanna. Thank you for the question. You know, I was influenced heavily by my grandmother, Mary Lee Hill, who is now resting with the angels. I was influenced by her. She taught me early on to make sure that I don't spend everything I make, because number one, she only had a 5th grade education. Although she only had a 5th grade education, she was a master of her money. She could take a little bit and magnify it. She could just make something out of nothing. And she had perfect credit. She taught me, Tracy, make sure you keep your credit good. You know, one thing about my grandmother was that she experienced tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, but she did not let that stop her. She was a no matter what woman. And she instilled in me the importance of looking out for myself, looking out for my future self, and just taking care of my family. She was the go-to person in my family for money. A woman with a fifth grade education, but she was a master of her money.
And I love what you just said. So here you were with your grandmother, being impressed at a young age, and now at this stage of your life, she's still echoing in your ear, right? She's still that. I see it's like that wind beneath your wings that gives you that why. And you are so blessed, Tracy, to have had someone who was so wise financially, you know, and to speak that to you, because so many don't.
And LaWanna, she lost her husband in her 20s. Her son drowned, my uncle, when he was 16 years old. Her house burned down 3 months before Christmas. I mean, just tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. But she had intestinal fortitude. And she just went on no matter what.
That's pretty powerful. We often hear individuals, and I really want you to get into this, say, well, you don't understand. You know, life is happening. I've had issues. I've had loss. And it's every excuse to not save or to not budget or to not make the best decisions. And I get it. I mean, I was there where life was doing great for me, Tracy. But when 2007, 2008 hit and I'm in the mortgage industry, it almost wiped me out. But, you know, I had mom and dad in my head, right? And also mom and dad were able to give me a safety net. But so many aren't as fortunate as you or I to have wisdom being poured into us. So what would you say to women who are going through life's tragedies right now?
I would just say, whatever you can save, if it's $1 a week, $5 a week, whatever you can save, put that money away, because the pandemic taught us, the pandemic showed us that anything can happen at any time. And we have to be prepared no matter what, come what may. And it doesn't take a lot. If you only have $1, save $1. Whatever you have, save something, because we know that the unexpected is going to happen. My grandmother used to say it all the time, you have to save for a rainy day. LaWanna, my grandmother said there was a time when she only made $5 a week, and she saved $2. My grandmother was born in 1920. She said there was a time she only made $5 a week, and out of $5, she saved $2. That was almost half of her weekly income. So if my grandmother could do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, that's huge. And like you said, you start small, start where you're at. You know, and I'd like you to talk about this. If you don't have the discipline, I could say, oh, I'm going to save $500 a month. But if I've never been saving $500 a month, that may be a bit stretch for me to consistently do that. So how can we build the discipline to do like as your grandmother did? I mean, she saved almost half of what she was making.
Well, we have to make choices. Everything in life is a choice. Everything is a decision. Instead of eating out every day, maybe pack your lunch. Take your lunch to work. Instead of buying coffee every day, perhaps maybe just treat yourself and buy coffee once a week. Make coffee at home. You just have to curb some of those things that we think we need that we don't need. We just have to learn how to cut back and cut those expenses. It's very important.
Yes. To those of you who are joining us, we're here with Tracy Oriyomi, and our conversation is going to delve into kids and money matters. And Tracy is a 19-year seasoned professional in the financial industry, and she's sharing with us lessons from her grandmother, and we have those pieces of wisdom around us all the time. But the question is, are we leaning in? Are we listening? But more importantly, are we applying what we hear? And we were just talking about discipline and saying no to certain things, right? So this is what I experienced, Tracy. Even though I know what I know, during the pandemic, I got, and I want to call it financially lazy, because we were shut in, right? Mm-hmm. But you had Uber Eats or DoorDash. And I found myself spending far more money than I ever would have under normal conditions, because, like you said, I would go out to eat maybe once a week for dinner and once a week for lunch. But I found myself almost every day trying different restaurants, right? Because I'm shut in. And I was using that as an excuse. But when I looked at what I spent in 1 month, I was shocked.
LaWanna, yes. And a lot of people dealt with that during COVID because we were stuck at home and shut in. But, Warren Buffett says we don't have to be smarter than the rest. We just have to be more disciplined than the rest. It's all about discipline. And it's hard. It can be really, really hard. But when you think about your future self, then that's when you take a step back and say, okay, what do I want things to look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 5 years from now? What do I want things to look like?
When we think about our children, we hear, go to school, get a good education, get a good job. And in our elementary schools, high schools, middle schools, we're not taught money management principles. I think it's literally a handful of schools that are actually teaching that type of curriculum. What would you say about that? Because I know you're a big advocate about financial literacy.
Absolutely. And it's something that should be taught starting in elementary school. LaWanna, do you know that kids, the average age of a child that picks up on money matters, what age would you guess the average age of a child that picks up on money matters? Any idea?
I would say probably junior high, so maybe 12, 13.
Actually, it's age 7. And I was surprised to learn that myself. Age 7 is when kids start forming money habits that actually take them into adulthood, because they pick up on their parents' attitudes about money. If they hear their parents stressing out about money all the time, if they hear their parents fighting about money all the time, they actually internalize that around age 7, and they start forming attitudes about money somewhere between the ages of 7 and 9, but around 7 on average, which is quite shocking. So we really have to be careful about how we talk about money around our children.
Yeah, that's huge. Right, because kids they're listening, right? They may be playing in the other room, but they hear whether it's mommy and daddy arguing about money, or saying, "Oh my gosh, I've got all these bills. How are we going to pay things?" Whatever that lack mentality, however it manifests in our conversation, children are hearing it and internalizing, and that's amazing. That what I hear you saying is that then shapes how we, I guess, our money story as adults.
Absolutely. And back to financial literacy being taught in schools, high school students were actually asked in a survey recently, what course would they benefit from the most? And the majority of those students said they would benefit from a course on money management. but it's not being taught in the majority of the schools. And it needs to start very early. It needs to start in elementary school, because that's when kids start forming their habits and ideas about money.
So with the work that you're doing, how are you helping to inform or change that narrative? Like you said, it needs to start early because children are already being shaped by age 7. So what the work that you're doing, because I know you're out there a lot, how are you helping parents to understand that shifting the conversations can really help our children prepare for their future?
Absolutely. Going into the school system is one thing. We actually have a program with our book, How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker, written by 2 of my colleagues. We actually have a program called Teach It Forward, where we actually go into the schools and we teach kids about money and financial concepts.
I love that. I think when we're introduced to things at an early age, it's not as scary. But if we've been removed from that and then we get older, and I'd like for you to talk about women, we tend to not want to talk about it, or we are fearful about, what do I do? How do I invest? How do I manage? And that's another part of your platform, is helping to help women to allay their fears, become more educated, more informed, so that they can make the best decision. And one of the things you said, and it stuck with me, you said women would rather talk about death than they would money. So let's unpackage that.
And that's true. Statistics show that women would rather talk about death and play it in their funeral than talk about money, because it's been such a taboo subject. We're taught, oh, don't talk about money. You're not supposed, it's impolite. We're not supposed to talk about money. But we need to talk about money, LaWanna. We need to talk about money, because guess what? 50% of women, no, it's actually 75%. 75% of women have to get some type of financial support after a divorce. I forgot what the numbers are as it relates to Social Security. 80%, I think it's around 80% of women make less money in Social Security than men. The statistics are just staggering as it relates to women and money. So we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it at the dinner table. We have to talk about it when we're out with our friends. We have to normalize talking about money. We have to normalize it and stop making it such a taboo subject. We have to talk.
That's powerful. We have to normalize the conversation around money. And you're right, those stats, and I'm aware of them, are very frightening, that through the fact that we live longer, through death or divorce, the fact that we earn less overall. Typically, if someone is coming off the job to take care of an aging parent or a child, it's the woman. So our earning power is diminished. And if we don't change how we see money and leverage it, right? Because it's a tool, it's energy, then we become victim of this cycle. And one of the things that I was talking to a lady about, and I'd like you to talk about this because you're an entrepreneur as well, is she is working her corporate job, and she said, I'm just going to quit, and I'm going to draw down all of her 401k, because she's too young to retire. So she's going to draw down her 401k and she's going to invest it in her business. And what will be, because she says she's just sick and tired of the job. And I thought, well, that's great. But what's the plan? And this is a single woman. What's the safety net? Because again, she's taking, when she says her 401k, I hear I'm robbing from my future to build this dream that we know that the high number of businesses that fail. And I'm not discouraging anyone from starting their business or living their dreams, but I think it's important to have a financial strategy. So can we talk about that, Tracy, about the importance of having a plan of action before you just leap?
Absolutely. And I certainly don't recommend taking all of your funds out of a 401k unless it's just an absolute emergency. Because if you're under 59 and a half, you're going to be penalized. You're going to have to pay an early withdrawal penalty for being under 59 and a half. You're going to have to pay taxes on that money because it has not been taxed. And that's money that could be growing for your future. So I certainly don't recommend taking money out unless it's a complete emergency.
Yeah.
I recommend just saving whatever money you have or that you can save, just save it and just hang in there with that job. Hang in there until you're in a position to leave. But exhausting your 401k, I don't recommend that at all because of the penalties. And like you said, you're robbing from your future self. You got to pay taxes. You have to pay early withdrawal fees. Is it really worth it? Sometimes we have to just bite the bullet and just hang in there a little while longer until it makes more economic sense.
Yeah, and so I'm just curious when we're talking to the children, our children, especially our young girls, and about money matters. And we know the world that we live in. We know that there's pay inequity out there. How would you recommend parents frame the conversation so that our young girls are as empowered as they possibly can be at a young age to deal with the divide?
Well, one thing I always tell parents is to make sure you're telling your children if they're working, or even if they're not working, if they're getting some type of allowance, pay yourself first. Put some of that money away for yourself. And it's important to start investing. Start investing at an early age. Whatever you purchase, if you like Nikes, if you have an iPhone, invest in Apple. You have an iPhone, you need to be investing in Apple. Buy some Apple stock. If you like wearing Nike shoes, invest in some Nike stock. If you eat at McDonald's every day or every other day, how about buying some stock in McDonald's? It's very important to start investing early because of something called compound interest, LaWanna. You know, Albert Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. So the earlier our kids start putting money away and investing, the more time they have for that money to grow and compound. Compound interest is amazing. You know, I heard a story of a father who had two sons who asked his sons, would you rather have $1 million or would you rather have a penny that doubles every day for 30 days? And the sons said, they would rather have $1 million because they didn't understand compound interest. A penny that doubles every day for 30 days is over $5 million. It's unbelievable, but that's compound interest. And we need to teach our kids the rule of 72 because that tells you how long it's going to take your money to double based on the interest rate you're getting. And our money needs to be doubling every 7 to 9 years. Every 7 to 9 years, our money needs to be doubling to keep up with inflation. To keep up with inflation and taxes.
That's huge. So if individuals come to you, and put your contact information here at the bottom, you will be able to help inform them and educate them on compound interest and the rule of 72 and how it applies to their circumstance. Yes?
Absolutely. So you take the interest rate and you divide it by 72. So if your money is in the bank earning 1%, 72 divided by 1, that means it's going to take 72 years for $1 to turn into $2. Or if you have $1,000 in the bank, It's going to take 72 years for that $1,000 to turn into $2,000. But let's say your money is somewhere getting 12%, and there are places where you can potentially get that. Now your money is doubling every 6 years, because 72 divided by 12% is 6. Now your money is doubling every 6 years. So we need to know the rule of 72. We need to know how long it's going to take for our money to double.
I like that example, and I think that's perfect for children, right? To simplify it, to say, okay, you got, here's an apple, you want 2 apples. How long is it going to take you to get 2 apples? 72 years is a long time for a tree to produce another apple, right?
Who has 72 years?
Exactly. Wow, that's really powerful. Now, I'm gonna be a little devil's advocate here. Someone may say, okay, I hear you, Tracy. This is great. I understand this, but I'm a single mother. I don't make much. I make under $60,000 a year, and I struggle just to make ends meet. And I hear you talking about compound interest, but I can't afford to invest. I can't afford to save. What would you say?
I would say you can't afford not to. You might have to pick up extra hours at work, maybe work overtime, maybe consider starting a home-based business. Side hustles. A lot of people have side hustles nowadays. Consider a side hustle. Consider maybe doing something online. There are a lot of companies that are looking for virtual assistants, for example. You can do that from home after hours, perhaps. You have to find a way to increase your income and manage your expenses. Those are the 2 things that are key. Increase your cash flow, manage your expenses.
I like what you're saying. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here on Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no holds barred forum with leaders and innovators. And you just heard a no holds barred comment. You're getting empathy, but not sympathy. Meaning we get it. We understand your resistance, your fear, your hesitation, but if you don't change anything, nothing's going to change. And Tracy just said, sometimes we've got to get that side job, look for other avenues to increase some revenue streams. Maybe pick up some more hours at work. Maybe stop going to Starbucks 5 days out of the week.
Hey, become a YouTube star. There are kids on YouTube making millions of dollars on YouTube. Yes. Find something that you're passionate about and post videos. YouTube has a monetization feature where, you get so many views, they start paying you. This is 2024, There are a lot of ways you can make money without leaving your house.
And I love that. And I thank you for those suggestions, because sometimes people are in a situation and they're like, I don't know what to do. Or those single mothers or parents, not just mothers, but parents who are out there may not be able to leave the home, because once you picked your kids up from school or daycare, you can't leave. You can't afford to have someone stay with them. But as you said, Tracy, there's so many online opportunities that we can leverage from the comfort of our own home.
There's a kid named Ryan. It's called Ryan's World on YouTube. He's making over $100 million a year just reviewing toy products, reviewing different products.
I do know who you're talking about.
Ryan's World. This kid is making over $100 million just reviewing products on YouTube. There's a Russian girl who's not even 10 years old making over $1 million on YouTube in Russia. So you can be anywhere in the world, come up with something you enjoy doing, post videos. I mean, not saying everybody, is going to make $1 million, but we have to be creative. It's the 21st century.
Yeah, I love that. And like you said, here's a child who, and that makes sense, right? You're a toy company, so who better to evaluate a toy than a child?
Mm-hmm.
And he just happened to be at the right place at the right time. But there are so many opportunities where companies are looking for people to review, to evaluate your secret shopper programs, even your in-home customer service centers. Right? You don't have to go into a big room anymore. You can handle those customer service issues from your home. So
Absolutely. I mean, when I call my cell phone company, I'm talking to someone in another country. A lot of times when you call customer service, you're talking to people all around the world. So, the opportunities are there even after your 9 to 5.
yes, yes. Well, Tracy, we know the good story, right? We know about your grandmother. We know that you've been able to take those lessons to just empower yourself and your family and your children, and now you're expanding that to the communities and the greater world. Has there ever been a time in your life where you didn't make the best financial decision that caused you to say, "Uh-oh, I need to wake up"?
Absolutely. Absolutely. LaWanna, when I was in college, credit card companies from all over the place, oh my God, bombarded my college campus. So, and this was happening in the 80s. And I got into a lot of credit card debt because credit card companies would give away t-shirts and, just all kind of things to get you to apply for their credit cards. And I had no idea what a credit report was. I went to apply for a loan and I was denied for the loan when I was in college. I was denied a loan because they said I didn't pay a bill that I had. And I said, "How do you know?" They said, "Because your credit report shows that you were late." And I said, "What is a credit report?"
Oh, wow.
LaWanna, I was in college and I didn't even know what a credit report was. I had no idea. Didn't even know what a credit report was. So I got into a lot of credit card debt. And even after college, I only paid the minimum payment on my credit cards, and it took me forever. It took me forever to pay off those cards. I didn't realize I should have been paying more than the minimum payment. I didn't realize all I was paying was interest. Interest on top of interest on top of interest. I remember having a Sears credit card, and I said, "Why can't I pay these people off? I'm paying them every month." But it didn't register to me that I was only paying the minimum payment. It took me forever. So yes, early on, I was in a lot of credit card debt because I was financially illiterate.
Now, speaking of credit card debt, and we know a lot of people are finding themselves even more in debt, again, with the pandemic and the impact that it had, where you weren't able to go in and make, maybe your job had a temporary shutdown, or you were in a service industry, maybe you were a restaurateur. And so people were using their credit cards to live. And yeah, that debt is astronomical right now. And what you said is so key. You can have a good payment history, right? But it's a never ending cycle because you're paying the minimums, you're paying the interest, but the principal is still there, nice and happy.
It's still there. And that's money you could be saving, all that interest. All that interest I was paying, that's money I could have been saving, but I was financially illiterate. Like 2 out of 3 adults today in America are financially illiterate, meaning they don't understand basic personal finance.
That's huge. So let's look at that. So if 2 out of 3 adults have financial illiteracy and they have children, that just cascades down. If children aren't exposed, right, where they're not getting it in school, mom and dad don't have it, so now the vicious cycle continues, and that's very frightening, actually.
It is. That's why I'm on a crusade. This is a crusade.
Yes, you
For
are.
me. This is a movement. This is a movement.
You are.
Yeah, it's a crusade. Because if it's not taught in school and it's not taught at home, how are you going to expect people to house themselves, feed themselves, clothe themselves if they don't have the education?
Yeah, I was, you and I were just talking about loss before we came on the show. And I know the one thing that makes me really sad is when I see on social media these GoFundMe accounts to bury someone,
Mm-hmm.
to bury family members where, collectively, the family doesn't have enough money to pool together to take care of the final goodbyes for a loved one. That's sad. But we see it a lot. It's not like it's a rare thing. That it happens more often than not.
Mm-hmm. It does, LaWanna. And my grandmother used to say all the time, we got to get away from here. We know we have to get away from here. We know it's coming. We just don't know when. We're all living on borrowed time. It's going to happen. So we might as well prepare for it. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
It's when. We all know it's going to happen. So we have to prepare. We have to make sure that we prioritize, our finances.
I want to ask you a question with your children, because they're doing some amazing things. Now, as adults, do you all still have money conversations? Do they come to you for advice, guidance, or do you feel that you've equipped them where they're good?
We still have conversations weekly, every Wednesday. We have family night every Wednesday where we talk about everything once a week, including money. Because it's a constant learning process. You never know it all. You have to continue to learn, continue to grow.
Yeah,
So it's a never ending process.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you are that your family has a commitment, right? It's not only maintaining the family unit through strengthening the conversation and in the family ties, but then bringing those critical conversations to the table. And I hope that those of you that are listening are leaning in. I mean, we've talked about several things, whether it's financial disparities, pay inequities, single parents, lessons learned, financial credit card debt. But these are all conversations that you can have with your children, no matter what age they are. As Tracy said, they're still meeting every Wednesday as a family and talking. And I think that's priceless.
And they're 28 and 26.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
But it's a never ending process. You have to constantly learn. And I tell people, listen to podcasts about money. Read financial blogs, read books about money. It's a constant learning process.
Yes. Well, Tracy, we are almost out of time. I'm going to turn it over to you. I know there's some things that you want to share with our listening audience. And so I'll let you take it away.
LaWanna, thank you so much for having me. I have enjoyed this. I want to say that one of the most important things that you can do is to pay yourself first, because you are going to work approximately 90,000 hours over your lifetime. 90,000 hours. And how many of those 90,000 hours are you going to work for yourself? In other words, pay yourself. I want you to consider, if you make $20 an hour, consider saving $20 per day for yourself. Most people work about 22 minutes a day for themselves. In other words, they're saving the equivalent of 22 minutes of their income. But consider Paying yourself first. That means just like you pay the credit card companies, you pay your mortgage, you pay your light bill, your water bill. Make sure you're including yourself and paying yourself first. Very, very important. Have that money coming out of your paycheck every time you get paid, every 2 weeks, every week. Make sure that you're taking out a certain amount to put away for yourself. That's one of the greatest things that you can do to build wealth, is to pay yourself first. Now, if you have not had a financial checkup lately, I would like to encourage you to reach out to me at ceotracy.com, and I would love to give you a complimentary financial checkup, because just like you go to the doctor to get your annual wellness checkup, you also should consider having an annual financial checkup. So if you have not had a financial checkup, please reach out to me at ceotracy.com. All of my social media information is there as well. And I would love to give you a financial checkup. You know how they say a checkup from the neck up, but I want to give you a financial checkup if you have not had one done this year, or if you haven't had one done last year. If you haven't had one done in a while, I'm offering a complimentary financial checkup, because health is wealth, and financial wellness is just as important as your physical wellness. So that's what I would like to offer to you, a complimentary financial checkup.
I love that. Like you do the financial checkup, which is a holistic piece, and I have the mortgage wellness checkup. And most people don't think about that. Just like you said, our annual physical is so important. Are you checking on your financial health? So I love that. Before we sign off, Tracy, can you tell us a little bit about the Success and Money Foundation? I know you're part of the advocating about the services that they offer.
Oh, yes, LaWanna, thank you for that. Yes, I recently ran across this wonderful organization. It's a charity. It's a foundation. It's called Success and Money Foundation. And they're offering over 400 free classes about success and money, absolutely free, to kids, teens, as well as adults. And the wonderful thing about this, which is so phenomenal, is that they're going to pay you for taking their classes. Someone donated millions of dollars to this charity, and they're sharing the wealth. So just by taking their classes, they're going to give you Warren Buffett stock. They're going to give you crypto. They're going to give you money just for taking their classes. And that's how much they believe in financial literacy and getting this information out to the masses. And they are sharing the wealth by paying you for taking their classes. These are classes written by best-selling authors, entrepreneurs, amazing individuals.
That is absolutely amazing. So the link is below, successandmoneyfoundation.org. I mean, just think about that. You get paid to learn, but also in your learning, you become empowered to now take the right steps to reshift the trajectory of your life and that of your children. That's powerful. Thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing that. Thank you so much for coming on and waking us up when it comes to understanding the deficiency that our kids are in our education system. They're not teaching us about money and what we can do so that we can help shape our children's lives. You said that kids begin forming money mindset by age 7.
Age 7, LaWanna, age 7.
Yes. And you told us we work with them. They can start investing at an early age. What things do they like? Like you said, if it's McDonald's, let's buy them a couple of McDonald's stocks or Nike, or just, again, helping them to understand the power of investing. And then this one, he said, is very powerful. That Albert Einstein stated that the 8th wonder is compound interest.
Compound interest. Mm-hmm. It can work for you or it can work against you.
Uh-oh.
If your credit card is 21%, now that's the interest is doubling every 3 years.
Okay, yeah, we don't want that. So we want the good side of interest.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Well, thank you so very much, Tracy. I encourage everyone, please reach out to Tracy Oriyomi for just information about wealth management principles, money management principles. And if you watch her as a speaker, I know she's been showing up on stages around the world. So she's also there to speak on money management, life principles. She's a rock star, and I'm just happy to have met her and continue to work with her and support all the work that she's doing.
Well, thank you so much, LaWanna. Thank you for having me. And you are a rock star as well. I see you too. So thank you for everything that you're doing to make a difference in the lives of women. And thank you for having me on Business and Financial Raw Talk. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And everyone, we will see you next week, next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. And just remember, in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Be safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.